What's up, y'all? Welcome back to HRT. I hope your week was swell. I'm excited for this episode because I got my bestie, Julian, on. If you're in the Discord, if you've been a part of the HRT fam for quite a while, I know you know who Julian is. He is very active in the Discord server. He is at every single one of my live streams. He did a giveaway with me not too long ago. We gave away binders and stickers. I love this man. I think he's the kindest guy I've ever met. He's loyal, and I love the shit out of him. He's got a really interesting story. We talked a lot about siblings and how they can affect our transition, being compared to each other and whatnot. We talked about cis men and them feeling the need to ask trans men uncomfortable questions and how we feel about that. I really love this conversation. I really love Julian. So I'm really excited for you to watch. And please, please, please drop a comment with your thoughts below. I really appreciate it. I need to get that engagement up. So please do that for me. Make sure you like as well. Turn on my post notifications. I would really appreciate it. We just hit 1,000 subscribers, and I keep meaning to thank you guys for that. I've only been doing this for like a year, so this 1,000 subscribers in a year is big. And I know it's not like 1,000 isn't like a big amount or anything, but it's a lot to me. And I just want to say thank you, and I appreciate you so much. I couldn't keep doing this if it wasn't for you guys. So thank you so much, and I love you. Um, and yeah, please subscribe to my Patreon. I would appreciate it. Bonus content every single week. You're really, really missing out if you are not subscribed. Join my Discord server if you want to come talk to me and Juju. We're always active in there. And yeah, turn my post notifications on. Okay. I love you so much. Go watch some After Dark videos too while you're at it. I would appreciate it. I love you. Let's go talk to Juju. Bye. I think I kind of slayed that. By now, you know the drill because you've seen so many episodes. So I'm going to start by asking you where you're from, bro.
I'm originally from Washington, but I live in Texas.
Ooh, okay. When did you move to Texas from Washington?
2017?
Okay. Were you trans when you moved or no?
No, no,
Okay,
just
okay.
a little, a little lesbian, I would say.
Just a little lesbian. Now, how does Texas treat you as a trans man?
Personally, it's good. I mean, there are laws, so things are like scary, but
Mm,
I haven't had like personally anything affect me.
okay, that's good. I always love to hear that. I know you just said like never, but do you think that things have gotten easier for you once you started to pass better, once you like started hormones like in public and stuff?
Yeah, I would say for myself more comfortable because even before I
Mm,
started hormones, I would get like sir in public or
mm,
buddy or something like that. So it was more of like an internal thing that got easier.
that's good. That's good. Because I can imagine being in such a right winged state. I would, I was never like really. I mean, obviously, I wanted to start hormones like really, really badly, but
Hmm.
because I live in New York, a very blue state for the most part, I was never like scared. But it was, as you just said, it was more of like an
Yeah.
internal thing. But I feel like maybe being in a state that's known for being a little transphobic, I think I would be a little bit more like I need to get on hormones right now type of deal. Yes.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I feel like it happened pretty fast, and there's a clinic here that specializes with trans healthcare. So in the city at least, so that was pretty helpful.
Nice. We love that. Okay, Texas. Okay. Now, how old are you, Julian?
28.
28. Okay. What age did you come out as trans?
28. So just last year,
Oh
in
shit.
or July. Yeah.
Wow. Okay,
Yeah.
wait. How long have you been on hormones for?
So I came out in July of 23. I've been on hormones since August of 23.
Oh my god, look at you. Wait. So how many you haven't even been on hormones for a year? No.
No.
Yeah.
Uh.
Oh my
No.
god, homie. Like I knew I kind of knew that, but like it didn't
Yeah.
actually register in my head, bro. You look like you've been on like you're like 2 years on T. That's kind of what I thought. To be honest. Good for you, King. Do you do injections?
I do.
How does that treat you? Tell me about
Mm, I don't. It doesn't bother me too much as far as doing it weekly. My wife does my shots for me, and I think
it.
that's why. So it's more of like an intimate thing where she can also feel like a part of like the journey and everything like that. But if I
Mm.
probably had to do it by myself, I'll probably be more scared.
Have you ever tried doing it by yourself?
No,
Mm. Mm.
no, not at all.
Do you do sub Q?
No, I am.
You do,
Yeah,
Julian.
I've
Do I?
told you this before.
Yeah, you
Yeah,
probably have.
it's okay. There's a lot of people.
No, wait, hang on. So do you do it in your thigh, the cheeks? Where do you do it?
No, my wife puts in my upper arm.
Arm?
Yeah, like up here, like in the
You're
muscle.
joking.
Swear.
Wait, we've definitely talked about this before in the Discord a while ago. I didn't know that the arm, Julian.
Yeah,
Imagine
the
just one
farm.
arm is just like hella jacked.
No, so I'll alternate arms, but like one hurts more than the other, and I assume it's like more muscle. But yeah, the pharmacist just told me if I have someone else do it for me, they can do it in your upper arm. And so when everybody's talking about thighs or butt cheeks and stuff, I'm like, I don't have no problem. It's cool.
Wait, does it hurt?
Yeah, like sometimes, but not
Yeah,
often.
yeah, it fucking does.
I mean, it's a shot, right? But it's not crazy or nothing.
Okay, wait. So I'm assuming you've gotten like the flu shot and shit like that. Does it feel like
Mm,
that?
yeah, similar. It's not too bad.
I don't
Or
know how
like
I feel
the
about that.
COVID vaccine or something. Yeah.
That shit kind of hurted though. The COVID vaccine and shit. I don't know about that, Julian.
It probably feels better than your thigh or your butt.
Hmm. Now, since I'm on IM, I could just do that. I could just put that shit in my arm.
Yeah, I mean, you would really have to maneuver because you're doing it by yourself. So then, yeah. But if someone else did it for you, it would
Hmm.
probably work out better because you go in like a 90-degree angle or something like that. I don't know.
Huh. You do weekly?
Yeah,
Dang. Weekly injections in the arm. That's kind of crazy, bro. Good for you though. Damn.
I just do it at night. That's it.
I guess I just like the thigh or the cheek is just like more meatier, I guess. So it just
Mm.
feels safer, but you're right. I guess there's really no fucking difference.
Because you got to get it in your muscles. So if you have more fat in your butt or in your thigh, then you're not really getting it. I guess where you're supposed to. I don't know.
Mm, I
It's
guess,
been
yeah.
working, so it's getting in there.
Hey, I could tell. I took my shot the other night. I was only a day late. Thank you, thank you. Um, I bled everywhere, and I was like, you know what? I'm fucking done. That is it. This is the last injection I'm fucking taking. I'm sick of it. Sick of it. I bled all over my goddamn toilet. The cleanup was a mess. I'm done, Julian. I'm going on gel. You've heard it here first.
Or do it in your arm.
That scares me, bro. I can't imagine that. It hurts enough in my thigh. I think I'm just, I don't know, just over it. Have you? Okay, wait. So you said you've been on injections for not even a year, right?
Yeah,
Good for you.
like a
Good for you.
couple months. Yeah.
You. How long after, like, so you came out, and then
Mhm.
how much time passed from when you came
Probably
out to
like
when you started?
3 weeks.
3 weeks. Wow. Okay. So how long did you know you were trans for before you came out?
So that's like a loaded question. So I feel like when as a child or as like a young teenager, if you have a lot of trauma, it kind of blocks out a lot of stuff. So
Mm,
maybe back then, but also more so, say probably like 20. Oh no, it's like 2021.
2021. Okay.
Yeah,
You sit with yourself during the pandemic, really, really analyze your gender like everybody
yeah,
else.
it really is. Yeah, doing some internal searching for sure.
Okay, okay. Now, tell me about your coming out story a little bit. Who was the first person you came out to?
So the first person was my wife.
Okay.
So we had a trip planned to go back to Washington State to see my family, and I felt like I had always expressed to her how I didn't feel comfortable like in my body, but like I wouldn't really say much about it, and she would just kind of like, oh, okay, well, these are the options that you can do, like people do it all the time, or women do it all the time. And I'm like, yeah, I don't know, it just doesn't seem right. And then I would go back and forth. I went through tons of Reddits, which was the worst mistake.
Yeah.
Um, like how to come out to your wife, because at this point we were already married, and we had already
Mm,
been married for almost 2 years. And
mm,
so it was like, okay, like how to come out to your wife. The Reddit stories were horrible. Telling me that she was gonna leave me and abandon me. And
jeez.
so there was like there was times where it was like, oh well, I'm gonna tell her in person, and we're gonna make this whole big thing about going and sitting at a park to tell her, or like right now would be the perfect time to tell her. And
Mm,
instead, I was at work, and the job that I was doing, it was very like you had a lot of time to just sit there and think. So it was collections, so people didn't answer their phones, so you'd just be sitting there.
mm,
And so I had just texted her one day and started just explaining like, oh, I don't feel comfortable in my body. I don't want this. I don't want that. And then she was like, yeah, I mean, you've mentioned it. And then uh, it just all had started coming out like word vomit, but in text message. So,
mm,
and like, it was like probably pretty overwhelming for her. And she had came to pick me up after work that day. And then we just kind of like, we didn't talk about it really too much at first. It was kind of touchy. There was like a lot of tears and stuff like that. But
mm.
then eventually she just said like, I didn't marry you for like your gender or who you are. Like I married you just like because I love you and who you are as a person. So there we
That
go.
is the perfect response. I mean, you can't ask for better than that, right? I love
Yeah, I
that.
mean there is definitely like I guess on her end fear of like losing the like quote like wife that she married and stuff, and like
For sure.
but as she like puts it, is she like gained a husband, and
Mm,
it's even better just because I'm more comfortable as myself, and so our relationship or our marriage has gotten a lot better just because of that.
great.
So,
Yeah, I mean, like, I feel like you can't properly love somebody if you aren't comfortable in your own skin, you know what I mean? So,
for sure.
I believe that. Now, can I ask, you don't have to answer if you don't want to, can I ask, like, was your wife her sexuality, like, was she out, like, as a lesbian, or was she just, like, open before
So
you came out
she
as
was out
trans?
as a lesbian, yeah.
Okay.
I mean, she had dated men prior, or been with them prior and stuff. But the way she puts it was like, yeah, she's a lesbian, but she doesn't really care about labels at the same time. And so now, I'll have like a lot of family that has asked, like, oh, well, like, how does she identify? And I'm like, I
Mm,
feel like it's kind of not their business at the same time because it's like, well, we're married, we're together. That's all that you should care about. But
mm.
she'll just say she doesn't care about labels too much. We're just married.
I
That's
love
it.
that, period.
Yeah.
Now I definitely wanna come back to the topic of, coming out to your wife or husband when you're trans. So we're gonna come back to that, but first, I wanna ask you more about your family, like your parents, maybe. How did you come
Okay.
out to them?
Yeah. So we went to go see them July. I think it was like the first week of July 23. And I had this whole elaborate plan that I was going to sit everybody down. We were going to have a dinner, and I was just going to tell them. And then when it came time to seeing them in person, I would go back to the Airbnb that we would stay at, and I would talk to my wife, and I would tell her, I can't do this. Like, I can't tell them this. And, like, for her, also, it was, like, a little hard because she had to sit there and misgender me or dead name me over and
Mm,
over and over. And, like, I feel like my family's pretty open, but still, they were, like, I mean, it's a big thing to me. So it was, like, pretty scary coming out to them what I
mm,
felt like all over again, but just in a different way.
mhm,
Um, so I had waited, and then it was more towards the end of July, and I sent like a massive text message to my mom, to my sister, to my aunt, my brother,
mm,
and then so with my mom, she's very open. Um, I think it took her maybe like a week, and then she was on board with everything.
okay.
And my sisters, one of my sisters, they all have kids, so then all of their kids knew me as auntie. And so changing that and switching that when they're little too, and so it was like, okay, well, how are we going to navigate these conversations, or like, what are we going to do, especially because I'm not there every day.
Mm,
But like I'll video chat with them, and off the top, my one sister in Washington was um, already had her kids Uncle Juju, and so like that's just that's just where it stuck, and like from there like they just it's just who I am.
Period. I love that. Now, how old were the kids, like range
Uh,
wise?
2 and 3.
Okay. See, with that, I feel like it's like it, it's better to come out when they're young. You know what I mean, and get them adjusted to that when they're still little, and like because like 7, 10, around that age. I
Mhm.
mean, it all depends on the parenting, I guess, but like I think it becomes a little bit harder because they have influences like in school telling them if trans is good or bad or not. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? And kids don't, little kids at least don't question shit like that. It's like, okay, you're a boy, sick. I don't really
Yeah,
care. Let's go
like let's
play.
move on.
Like,
Yeah,
yeah. So I think that's great. You said your mom, it only took like a week though. That's pretty dope.
yeah, like with just like pronouns, she got it right away. I would say after a week, and then name, she was just like, okay, cool.
Wow. Okay. I
And
love
then
that.
yeah, and then so I had waited a long while. So my grandma, which is my mom's mom, I had waited a
Mm,
long time to tell her, only because she's older,
mm,
and so I personally didn't tell her. I just made my mom go to her house and tell her,
mm,
and still to this day, she still misgenders or she still dead names.
mm,
It's progress only because she'll correct herself.
mm.
I guess it's just like the terms that she'll use as far as like speaking of me, like past tense. Like, oh, like when you were a girl. And I'm like, if you could not, like,
If you could not do that, grandma, that would be great.
that'd be great. Yeah.
No, I hear you. Fucking, there's people in my family that think that's kind of okay too. And look, the grandma situation, my grandma's like the only person I could never like yell at or like get upset with. I'm like, whatever, it's fine. I can't fight her. But people in my family kind of do that too, where they're like, well, I'm referring to you as a woman because you were one then. And it's like,
Yeah.
but I wasn't. You just everyone just kind of thought I was. Even I thought I was. I'll give you
Yeah.
that. But like I wasn't. I don't know. Even like with my dead name sometimes, even my mom thinks that that's okay to say in front of me, even though I've made it abundantly clear that it makes me uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And she's like, well, that's what you were going by. You went by that name for 18 years, right? I loved that name. And I'm like, I hear you. I get it. But no.
Yeah. No.
How about your dad? Is your dad in the picture at all?
So he was always rocky to begin with. I had initially like cut contact with him before I even got married, only because he has issues with me and then his other kids in general. So he's very just inconsistent as a person, and so I had asked him during my wedding to like not speak to my sibling, one of my
Mm,
siblings, and he went off the rails and started just yelling at me, telling me a bunch of crazy things. So I said, fine, okay, like if you don't come to the wedding, like then that's it, just cut all ties. And so he didn't come, and so I was like, okay, so then I held to it. I didn't speak to him for almost 3 years. So like then I had came out and everything, and I had been debating on going back and forth and like coming out to him, and
mhm,
then so my wife and I had just like talked about it, and then I was like, I'm just gonna text him. So I texted him this really nice text message, like because he had called me. That's what it was. He had called me, but I never answered, and I got scared. And I was like, why is he calling me now after like 2 years or 3 years almost? And then so I had given it a couple weeks. I had texted him and told him that I realized that he called and just want to know what he needed, and then also introduced myself as his son and as Julian, and these are my pronouns.
mm.
And I thought he was pretty open as a person, but yeah, he went off the rails again and dead name,
Oh
misgender,
boy.
misgender multiple times. And so I'm like, oh, okay, like that's how it's gonna go. So I'm like, well, I guess I just didn't need that.
Mm. Is how long ago was that you had that conversation with him?
A couple months ago,
A
maybe
month
two.
ago? Have you talked to him at all since?
No, no.
Honestly, good for you. Good for you. Fuck
Leave
that.
it.
Fuck that, King.
So I have a cousin on that side. He's also trans, and I had came out to him, and then I had came out to my grandma on that side as well. and like they were all cool, supportive with it, whatever. We're chilling, whatever. But I believe that they told him just because he doesn't have like social media and stuff. And so
Mm-hmm.
that's probably where the call was going. And if I had answered, that's probably what he would have said, the
Mm.
same as what he said in the text message. But yeah.
I'm, as I've said many times, I'm sure you know, I am one of those type of people that family does not mean anything to me if that label doesn't come with love and unconditional love and support. Like it means
Mhm.
nothing to me. So like I think you're better off. Like honestly, I think he's
Yeah.
losing at the end of the day. Like because you're gonna be surrounded by all your family that loves and supports you, and he'll be the only one not. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Which is sad. Like you could have that, and like I don't know. And I hear you though, even though you weren't like talking to him, like he wasn't in your life so much, I would also still want to reach out to my dad if he wasn't in my life as much. And because I don't want him walking around thinking he has a daughter. You know what I mean?
Yeah. That was my thing too. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, no, you can't dead name me and not even know.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Because like if you're
yeah,
dead
no.
naming me and misgendering me and you don't know that I'm trans, that's one thing. But now that you know and doing it, now you're just a dick. Like now it's
Yeah.
just, you know what I mean?
Yeah. For sure. And then I have one brother. So then when I told him, like, we're not really close, but it doesn't really have anything to do, I think, with like my transition in general. It's
Mhm,
just life.
mhm.
And so he was just like, okay, cool. I don't judge people. And I was like, all right. And then that was really the end of the conversation.
Cis man. You either love him or you hate him because like
He's like, all
that's
right.
that's
Yeah.
that's how it should be. I mean,
Yeah.
fuck. I mean, fuck. I can't argue with that. I love that.
Yeah.
All right, cool. So overall, besides your dad, I feel like
Mm.
everyone was pretty respectful and supportive, right?
Yeah, I would say they were pretty open. I had cousins, my aunt, like all that same day. I came out to everybody on one day except for my wife, but
Mm.
on the same day, and so they were all texting me and oh hey Julian, it's good to know, blah blah blah, we love you, and a bunch of text messages. So it was pretty positive overall.
I love that. Now, I think we should normalize coming out over text because I feel like a lot of people are like, I don't know, feel like they have to be better than that or have to
Mm,
actually say it out loud, which I get to in a certain extent. But at the end of the day, like coming out also doesn't have to be like that. And I feel like
mm.
everyone sets this narrative that it has to be this huge thing when it doesn't. Oh my God, just send a text saying, I'm a dude. Love me or hate me.
Right.
Especially if like I used to do that. Like I used to anything. I had a really really hard time, still do, talking about my feelings to my
Mm,
family. I don't know why, but like in front of my family, I struggle. I struggle talking about how I feel. And I used to just text my mom anything that I was too embarrassed to say out loud.
mm.
And like I always was ashamed about that. But now it's like, oh my God, if it's easier, it's easier. Like,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Especially if you struggle with talking about your feelings and maybe you're socially awkward or you get nervous easily. Like, fuck it. Who cares? Oh my God,
Yeah, I
everyone
mean,
chill.
like initially when I came out in life in general, it was over text message. So I'm like, I guess we'll do it over text message this time too.
Right. Honestly, because I mean, it's no different than just writing it down, handing somebody
Yeah.
a note. Like, I think that's dope as hell. Go
Yeah.
you, as you should. There's no one way to come out, and I feel like I've just seen people look down on others who come out through text message, and like,
Mhm.
why? I don't know. Anywho, um, let's get back to your wife a little bit and how you came out to your wife. Now, do you think coming out to her was scarier, or did you feel like she was the most comfortable person to come out to?
So I felt like a little bit of both. So like she was the most comfortable person in my life as far as with anything, and I knew
Mm,
that I could trust her with anything, but also the scariest in the sense of like I guess like Reddit's telling me, "Oh, she's gonna leave you. She's gonna. It can never work."
mm,
Um, so it was a little bit of both at the same time, and then just with like I feel like her traumas in her life and how she had viewed men in general would have
mm,
like altered something in her or made her like less attracted to, or just generally didn't want to be married to a man.
Hmm. Did you guys ever have conversations about trans people in general before you came out as trans?
Oh yeah, I was the biggest advocate for trans people, and she was like, I should have thought, or like how didn't I know? She was like, but like I just thought you were a good a good ally, a big
Mm.
advocate, and I'm like, I mean, I guess I am, but I'm also a part of the community too. I mean, but yeah,
Right.
so we had numerous conversations, and like I knew where her stance was, and we had similar views and everything like that. So, but
Good.
I think she was the most scariest just because like she was the one person that I actually cared about losing as
Right.
well. Like, because I
Yeah.
could lose anybody else family wise, and it was like I can't lose my wife sort of thing. So,
Yeah, no, I don't blame you, especially you guys being married. Like that's on a
yeah,
whole other level when when you're just
yeah,
like in a relationship, like it's a little different, I guess. But like being married, like I'm assuming you guys like live together at the time,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
Yeah, like that would suck if she
Got
was
dogs
like,
together.
"Oh my
Yeah,
god, no." Like you're not cuz then you're not only losing like your person, you're losing everything just for
yeah.
the fact that you're trans. Like
Mhm,
and the shit that would probably do to you as a person, like,
mhm.
oh, I'm really glad that you found your person and that
Yeah.
she's not transphobic.
Yeah, me too. Yeah.
That's great though. Not hello, Cody, fucking speak. Not many of my guests have been married when they came out, so it's interesting to hear your perspective on it, I guess.
Mm,
I've had a lot of guests who have come out to partners and their partners didn't take it very well. And it's always a very heart wrenching story because I don't think that a lot of the community and even people outside of the community understand how much of a toll that could take on a trans person.
for sure.
And I'm not saying, I'm not saying that you're transphobic if you don't want to date or be with a trans person.
Mhm,
But as I always say, it's like you can decide if you're the villain or not in someone's story by the way you handle it. Because no trans person is going to look at you and be like, you're fucking transphobic. If you sit there and say, look, you're a great person. I enjoyed the time we had together, but that's just not me. I'm interested in people who present and identify as women.
mhm.
I'm excited for your journey though. I'm excited to watch it from afar. That is literally the only fucking thing you have to say. Tell me I'm wrong.
Literally, yeah, yeah.
Like,
People will just go too far with it. I mean, there's a difference from like having I guess like a genital preference or like being with a woman or over a man, than like just specifically leaving you because you're trans or
right.
because you're coming out as trans. Yeah.
Right. I don't know. And you said something before about your wife being unsure because you said she's been with men in the past, and I'm sure she identified as a lesbian for a reason. You know what I mean, and
Hmm.
that's valid. And you said something about her like not being too sure if she wanted to be with a man, maybe just based on how cis men act, maybe.
Yeah.
So like I get that. That would actually, if I was, a cis woman who only dated women, that's something that I would think of too. Cause
Hmm.
oh my God, I can never date a cis man. No, thank you. No fucking thank you. Mm-mm. So that would definitely be a huge worry for me as well. But I
Hmm.
think was that like a conversation you guys had? Like, imagine you being like, "I swear I won't act like a cis man."
I mean, like it was we had numerous conversations, numerous like we just discussed fears, and I feel like me even coming out as trans like opened our communication and bettered it in a way as well.
Mm,
Just because we were able to like discuss our feelings and the other one not get upset or offended in any way.
mm.
Um, but yeah, no. Anytime she makes like a comment about men, and I'll be like, well, let's make sure we put cis men in front of that.
Yeah. My girlfriend does the same thing. It's really funny. I love it though. I'm like, yeah, talk your shit. Cis men fucking suck. Like, fuck yeah. And like, there. There's some people out there though, like even in my comment section and shit, where when I fucking say I hate men treat women like shit, I talk a lot of shit about cis men, and we all fucking know it. But a lot of my comments and people out there are like, "Hey, you know that's you though, right? You can't identify as a man and hate men. Like you can't do that." Bet your fucking bottom dollar that I can, bitch. Bet your bottom fucking dollar. I
Yeah.
don't care. Like I know that I'm like I don't know, like I look like a cis man and everybody out on the street thinks I'm a cis man, but like
Mhm.
I get where it seems like it could be fucked up for me to say and feel, but I don't want to like divide cis men and trans men. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? Because like there shouldn't be a divide because we are men, but I want a little bit of a divide, you know?
Yeah, a little bit of an upper hand.
Right.
We're different. We're a different type of man. Yeah.
Right. Do you have you ever felt like, you wanted to be a cis man? Do you feel like you want to be or no?
No, I would rather be trans for sure. I'd rather. I think if I had to choose to like do life over, I would probably do it the same way.
Period. I think one of my After Dark episodes, one of the last ones I did with Tyler and Gabe was like, yo, like he said the same thing. He was like, if I could, if I could, he was like, I would not wish to be born cis. I would just wish that maybe I had an extra body part or two
Yeah.
instead,
Yeah.
but still be trans, still have all the experiences and whatnot,
Yeah.
which I think that's exactly what I would choose as well. Um, Now, in your relationship, when you started hormones, did it maybe like was that a conversation you guys had that like you would start to look different? You know, hormones would do their thing as hormones do.
Mhm.
Do you think that that was ever given that she identified as a lesbian? Was that like a thing for her that she was worried about? Do you think?
I think I was more worried about it than she was. Um,
Mm.
like I still ask her to this day, and I'm like, "Are you sure you like my facial hair? Should I shave it off? Like, are we good?" But I'm like, "Are you sure you still like me? You still love me?" But I feel like it was more like an internal thing of like knowing that she identified previously as a lesbian. That it was like, "Are you sure you're gonna find me attractive?" And she said, "Well, it's not like I never found any man in general
Mm,
just attractive." And then she said, "Yes, I find you attractive, but it's more just like your looks, or
mm,
more than just your looks and everything." And so, yeah, it was definitely a fear, and I think it still is a fear,
mhm.
and hopefully, like it'll go away soon. But there's a lot of validation for sure. Like she's pretty good with validating.
Good. I love that. I love that. Period. And you deserve that. Every trans man does. Every trans person does.
Yeah, person.
Not me excluding people. Let's talk about your siblings a little bit
Mhm.
more. I think siblings is not something I've talked about a bunch in past episodes
Mhm.
because I think they do play a huge part in everybody's transition. If you have siblings, whatever. Um, you said that you have sisters and a brother, right?
Yeah, I have three sisters and one brother.
Okay, okay. Now, yeah, this specifically is not something I've ever talked about. I can't imagine having a brother and like going through my transition and like comparing myself to somebody
Mhm.
who came from the same woman as me. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
has that been a thing in your transition at all?
I feel like yeah, as it starts to progress, yeah. I'm like, oh, I wonder if our beard is gonna look the same because he grows a lot of facial hair, and so I'm like, am I gonna grow that or if it's not coming in as fast, and I'm like trying to remember what he looked like,
Mm.
puberty time and stuff like that, and I'm like looking
Right.
at old pictures or something, and yeah, there's a lot of comparing. I would say more so internally, but there has been growing up just in general, and then I
Mhm.
think even more so now.
Mm. Did you find yourself comparing yourself to him before you were trans?
Uh,
Like
I
subconsciously?
would deny that I looked like him, but like we
Mm.
look a lot alike.
Okay.
I mean, we have the same mom and same dad, and we're the only siblings that I have that we have the same mom and dad.
Mhm.
So I would just lie to myself and pretend that I didn't really look like him. And I think like he does the same thing. Like I don't think he would ever admit like, yeah, now we're really starting to look like. Like he's
Mm.
like, oh no, whatever. I look like myself. Sort of thing. Like,
Cis men, they don't care.
yeah.
Now, do you think that has like harmed your transition? Do you like over compare yourself? Because I feel like I would if I had a brother, and I don't just mean with like physical attributes. I mean like mannerisms and the way he like carries himself, the way he thinks, the way he treats other people, shit like that.
um, I guess it's more so not just him specifically, but just men that are in my life in general that I
Mm,
don't want to be like.
okay.
So it's more of like being cautious of not having misogyny and being, I guess, like a cis man in general. So yeah, I would say it's affected in that way more so just being like more conscious of yourself.
Mm. Now, do other people ever compare you and your brother
Yeah,
or no?
I would say we've been compared since we were younger. I mean, as far as me, my sister, and my brother that all grew up together in the same house, we were all compared. Well, I was compared academically in just in general to them,
Mm,
and then specifically how much my brother and I look alike, which I feel like had always bothered me just due to the fact of how I felt. I didn't know what the words were, but I know exactly that I didn't feel correct or
mm,
right within my body. And the fact that he was able to be himself and be confident and be comfortable, and it was like thinking
mm.
back on it now, it's like, ooh, yeah, that was
Yeah.
probably a lot to handle.
Yeah, right. Do you think that like that affected your relationship with him at all without you even realizing it?
Maybe a little bit without realizing, but more so, I feel like we have been through a lot in general so in life, and so people or siblings who went through like similar trauma tend to just kind of separate themselves from it, and he's more of like a person that's just kind of separates himself, like he's there when you need him sort of thing, but other than like having a close relationship, I want that, it's just I don't know if it's there yet.
Right. Yeah,
Yeah.
I hear you. I hear you. I think in general, I think being compared to a sibling is just hard, trans or not. That's not something
Yeah.
anybody ever really likes. Um, but I couldn't. That would bother me a lot. I think if I had a brother, because I do that. I compare myself to any men in my life, any cis man, and that's hard enough, and they're not related to me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
And they
I don't
don't
know.
look like you. Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. I don't know. Do you? Well, actually, before I go to more cis men in general and comparing yourself that way, how about your sisters? Did your relationship change at all with them when you came out?
So, my youngest sister, we have a good relationship. We're not so super close as I am with my other sisters, and that's just because she's a lot younger.
Mm,
Um, but with her, it was similar conversation than it was as far as with my brother. Like, hey, I'm your brother now, and she was
mm,
like, all right, cool. And so now she's having a baby, so it's like her baby's going to be born and just off the bat know me as their uncle.
mm,
Um, and
mm,
then so with my sister who lives in Washington, she was right on board with everything. She was the one correcting people as far as pronouns, name. She slept up here and there, but like she's the one that got her 2 and 3 year old like on board with like this is your uncle now, okay? Like,
mm.
and they were like, okay.
Period.
And so that relationship really hasn't changed at all. My sister in the middle, we're 6 months apart, and so we've always been pretty close. I feel like with her kids were a little bit older. I think her son was maybe 4 or 5, her oldest, and then her youngest was like 2 or 3.
Mm,
And with her, it was more so like a lack of education
mm,
on her part of knowing that just because you're explaining to someone that this is now their uncle or that their pronouns are different or their name's different, that it doesn't have to result with sex.
mm.
So it was more of the conversation when I came out to her was like, I accept you for you and I love you for you, but how do I have this conversation with my children when I'm not ready to talk to them about sex? And I feel like that's why it's so important to educate yourself, because it has
Mm,
nothing to do with sex. Ever since then, though, over the past 8 9 months, um, me and her had spent time just with us, and like I've answered questions that she's had, which have been like appropriate questions and clarified things for her. And
mhm,
so from there, when we did go to see my nephews, um, the first thing my older nephew said to me, he's 5, he said, "I have a friend named Julian too." And I said, "Oh wow, that's really cool," you know. And from there, it was her realizing that it was just name, like, and this is your uncle, and that's it, and that's all that really needs to be explained. And he
yeah.
was just on board with it.
Period. As you
Yeah,
should. I mean, like that's all it is with kids.
yeah,
And I from somebody, I guess I could see that like somebody being uneducated and thinking that they have to explain these like intricate and complex
hmm
things to a child. But when you really just sit down and like actually think about it for a second, like you're right. It's just a name and
hmm
pronouns. That's
yeah.
it.
It's not
Because
that
like
deep. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. And like I don't know, transphobic people always think that it's I'm not saying that your sister's transphobic or whatsoever, but I think other people think that it's so complex to be
Mhm.
trans and that it's just so out of left field. Like I don't know. Eh,
Yeah.
what is so confusing about it? Like, oh my god, look at you. You look like a dude. Why would somebody say she her? You know what I mean? Like, if
Yeah.
anything, you'd just be confusing your nephews even more if you still went by she her. You know what I
hmm
mean?
For
Like,
sure.
I don't know. So I get that. Now, I have a question for you. Do you? Because as of right now, it is just a name and pronouns to
hmm
your nephews, to my nephew as well. And my nephew just turned 2. You know, he doesn't. He he his brain is too small for any of that right now.
hmm
He doesn't know anything because he's 2. And so I'm just Uncle Cody and I will just be Uncle Cody, but you know when he grows up, am I going to tell him I'm trans? How do I hide that? How do I go about that? Do you ever like ask yourself those questions or no?
Not necessarily. I guess more of the sense of like, for myself, I would like to pass in public, nobody know,
Mm,
but then like internally, if you know me, you're my friend, you're my family, then I'm not ashamed of it. I'm pretty open with it,
mhm,
and we can discuss it. And then also at the same time, like I would want my nieces and nephews to know that like I'm a safe place as well. So
mhm.
without trying to hide that from them.
Right. Yeah. I definitely wouldn't want to hide it either. I think my fear is that I like wouldn't and I'm not even just talking about nephew. I'm talking about like my kids in general. Obviously my
Mhm.
kids, my nephew, they'll know that I'm trans, but like just
Yeah.
speaking out loud, I would be afraid that even if they knew that I'm trans, they'll make friends at school one day. They'll make the wrong kind of friends and
hmm
their friends will push ideas into their head and they'll come home and not understand why their dad or their uncle is the way that he is and
hmm
that would break my fucking heart. Do you ever have
Yeah.
thoughts like that or is it just me in my own fucking head?
For no, for sure. Like we talk about kids all the time and like having kids and stuff, and like that's a main thing as far as living in Texas.
Mm,
Like I could never raise a kid here, just
mm.
because like I feel like they're gonna just come out the womb just already have an
Right.
idea of being a Republican or something. Like it's crazy. So yeah, no, for sure. As far as kids with like nephews and stuff, like there is that fear just because of how non-progressive the world seems to be,
Mhm.
that they're going to grow up and just be like, well, why is my uncle this way?
Yeah. I
Yeah.
don't know what the fuck I would do. Like, I don't know. It scares me. Like, I know that I'm like equipped to like educate a
Mhm.
younger person on what trans is. Like, hello, hope to God I would be. But like when it comes to your own family, your own kid, your own nephew, like I think it gets a lot more scarier because you're so afraid of that like heartbreak and that judgment there. I feel
Mhm.
like because when I say earlier in the episode, I said family doesn't mean shit to me unless it comes with love and respect. That I when it comes to my own kid one day,
Hmm.
I take that back, but only when it comes to my kid. You know what I mean? Because like
Yeah.
I think you're supposed to love your kid unconditionally, no matter hello, no matter what they think. You know what I mean? And
Hmm.
I think that is the only person in the world that I would get like physically not well if they didn't support me being trans. But I would
Right.
hope that the way that I raise them and bring them up, that they would never think that way.
Hmm.
But you can't predict everything. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, it kind of goes with my wife has a younger nephew. He's 7 or 8. Uh, his brother or her brother is very pro Trump,
Mm,
and he's voiced his opinion several times before and after I've came out, and so we don't really speak to him directly, but we'll pick up her nephew, we'll hang out with him because me and him are very close. Like I've known him since he was a baby. Like right when he was born, I barely knew her family, and I was at the hospital while his mom was giving birth to him.
mm,
So we've become pretty close, and telling him with him being older, like it took him a little bit as far as with name, but he's caught on for the most part. But it's always in the back of my head of like when he goes and sees his dad, like, oh, what does his dad say? What is his dad putting in his head? And
mhm,
so like it's a struggle because it's like he's only getting older, and we're also here where we live. So
mhm.
it's kind of scary for
I
sure.
hear you. That's how I feel about my dad sometimes. Because like, to my face, I know he's saying the right name and pronouns now, and he's respecting me, and he's being a great dad in front of me. But then I know the friends that he has.
Mm-hmm.
I know they're not like sitting there talking about trans rights. Like, you know what I
Yeah,
mean? Like, there's no fucking way. So
yeah,
like, I'm like, "Are you letting your friends think that you have a daughter still?" Like, I'm pretty sure he is, and I'm like, "That's crazy." Like, I'm, like, past the point of being offended at that. That's just, like, weird. Like,
yeah,
that's weird on your part.
that's very weird. Yeah.
Right. I don't know. I hate that, like, you can't know 100%. Only with cis men, really. I feel like
Hmm.
women wouldn't really
For sure.
do that, but you can't know for sure what somebody else is saying when you're not in the room about transness specifically, because it's such a fucking
Mhm.
topic now.
Yeah.
Uh, but speaking about cis men, actually, do you do you have any cis men friends? Have you ever struggled having cis men friends like I have?
I have a cis man friend.
Mm,
One.
me too.
um, so we met at work. We met before I transitioned,
Mm,
and we were cool. Everything was fine. He was like the coolest person. We got along great. Uh, and then after I transitioned, it was more so of like I opened this door for him to ask me any inappropriate question he wants, and
mm,
it's okay because we're friends, and you're the probably the only trans person he knows in his life.
mm,
And then it doesn't also help that he's like older than me, like my mom's age older than me. So
mm,
he's like up there. Uh, but it's more of like he feels that I owe him the answers to these questions, and if I call him out on these questions that he asks, then I'm the one that's being weird because he's expected to be open and accepting of everyone. So why can't I just answer the questions for him? Yeah.
mhm. Oof. That's a hard situation to be in. Are you in that situation with him like right now?
So I'm slowly separating myself
Mm,
from him. We work together,
mm.
but he's moving to like a different, like same company, but moving to a different town. So I'm just
Mm.
slowly separating that.
Fuck, dude. That's like, I'm happy that he wants to be open and curious, I guess, and like wants to be educated, but I think people who are over curious like that and think that they have a direct passage to you in that sense are
Mhm.
transphobic, and they don't even realize it.
Yeah.
Cuz like I lost my train of thought.
No, I feel like there's a thin line between like asking just general questions, which is what it started out as, and then it became along with his girlfriend as well. It became a thing when we would drive home from work of like more so like an interrogation about sexual questions, and I'm like, how do I answer this without like dying in this car right now because they're driving the car, or like we were alone and he's driving a car and he's asking me really invasive questions. I had no other choice but to answer because I'm like, if I don't answer, is he gonna wreck the car? Like, what is he gonna
Mm,
do? Like,
it's just men
so
are
just like I just
unpredictable.
gotta answer.
Yeah. I hear you. I had a friend like that actually a long time ago. I'm not friends with her anymore. Don't know what the situation was because at the time I was dating her best friend,
Mm,
and this girl would like when my girlfriend at the time wasn't around, she would ask me really, really personal questions.
mm,
The questions that all
yeah,
trans guys get asked.
yeah,
Um, and I was also newly trans, and like I don't know, I didn't know how to handle the situation. I was weirded out by it. Obviously, told my girlfriend
mm,
at the time, um, but I look back on it and I'm mad at myself that I didn't directly say to her, "Hey, this is transphobic. What are you doing?
mm,
You're crossing a boundary. Also, I'm dating your best friend. What the fuck is going on? Like, red flag."
right.
Um, I don't know. It's like also the same. This is the same bitch who said she wouldn't date trans people. She got me alone and asked me all of these like really personal questions. Like she was so interested. And then when my girlfriend at the time was like, why are you asking my boyfriend these really weird fucking questions? She was like, you don't have to worry because I would never date a trans person. Don't even worry about it. I was like, you fucking what the hell?
Like, what were you
uh,
asking the questions for? And like, that's where like I think at first I thought he was being supportive and he just wanted to know and he wanted to know answers to these questions. But like, Google's free, Reddit.
right,
Reddit's a a great place to go find it. Like, um,
right.
so like
Does
it just crossed the line really fast.
right. Does that ever make you uncomfortable though, knowing that people could just like Google shit about you?
Kind of, yeah. But like at the same time, like I would rather them ask Google and not me.
Right. Yeah. No, me
So,
too. It's just like
but yeah.
with me in mind, because I know there's some fuckers out there that have like
Hmm.
have been like curious about me and what's in my pants and shit like
Hmm.
that, and like Googled some shit about trans people with me in mind.
Yeah,
That freaks me out.
yeah,
And then I'm mad at Google for like selling me out. uh,
yeah.
yeah, no, bottom line is just like that being too curious, transphobic, because you're
Hmm.
then treating us like we are some fucking weird creatures. We're like, "Oh my
Walking
god."
encyclopedia for trans people. Like, yeah,
Right. Like, we are the same as you. Like, "Oh my god, fucking chill." You're acting like I have some weird shit going on in my pants where it's just
yeah.
like, "Homie, relax."
Yeah. And like
Anywho.
the dynamic from just like being his friend as like a lesbian, then being his friend as a trans man, like completely two opposite. Like
Mm,
one
right.
over here and one over there, and it's like that escalated quickly.
Right, and like, when I've been in this position, you are a cis man thinking he has access to this information when he doesn't. I've been there, and I felt like in those times that I was less of a man for not being so open because cis
Hmm.
men typically have no problem talking about their fucking dick sizes and
Hmm.
shit like that. They have no problem being open, and if you're a pussy about it, that means you're
Yeah,
less of a man, you know what I mean? So then it's like, I don't know. I'm feeding you information to use against me in the future or to look
yeah,
down on me with, or I don't say it and I'm still less of a man for it. Like, I don't know. It's fucked.
yeah. I mean, there was even points when like he would ask me or let me know conversations him and his other friends were having about trans women and whether or not if they found a trans woman attractive in a sexual way or whatever, does that make them gay? And I said no. But like again, like, are you okay? Like, are you doing some self discovery? Like, I
Right.
don't know. It's very weird.
I mean, like, I'm glad that he had or has you to like educate him a little bit,
Hmm.
right? But you shouldn't. that shouldn't be the only role you play in his
Mhm.
discovery of gender, I guess, it looks like.
Yeah.
um yeah, that is a topic I feel like becoming more aware of as I get further along in my transition of like
Mhm.
cis men and how they handle relationships with trans men and how like what it says about them.
Yeah.
Um, you deserve to have a cis man friend though who isn't all up in your fucking business all the time though, and you'll find
For
that,
sure.
I promise. If you want that.
Sure. Like I mean, at some point, at this point, no. Like now, I'm just like, nope. I don't want to be friends with none of you.
Right.
Don't talk to me. Don't look at me. No. But like eventually, yeah. Like I just like I want. I I feel like every trans man kind of wants that in the aspect of like just affirming themselves in a way
Mhm.
of like being one of the guys or something like that. But I feel like you can also find that within the community as well.
True. Yeah. There's also a lot of trans men who act like cis men too, so you can find yourself one of those. uh honestly, I don't know. I It baffles me because cis men don't have to be like that. You know what I mean?
Mm.
Like Max, the the man who edits my After Dark episodes now, love him to death. He's my best friend. I've never seen him act that way. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
So like it's
Yeah,
fucking possible. It's possible for cis men to not be fucking gross. Like
it
all it
is.
takes is just, oh my god, listening. All it takes is just enough of this and more of this.
Yeah,
That's
just
it.
educate yourself, and I feel
Yeah.
like that's just in general. Just even maybe even with like cis women too, because like just educate yourself also.
Right. Period. Cis women
Yeah,
are at fault sometimes too. You're right.
yeah.
Before we go, Julian, Juju, I'm going to ask you the question I always ask my guests at the end of my
Mhm.
episodes, and I feel bad for asking because I know it's a really deep question, but I think it's also really interesting.
Mhm.
So again, trying to give a new narrative to what Matt Walsh was trying to do when he asked a bunch of trans women or women in general of what it means to be a woman.
Mhm.
I like to ask my guests what it means for them to be a woman, man, non-binary, etc. So to you as a trans man, what does being a man mean to you?
I feel like it means to like authentically and unapologetically be yourself. Like also letting go of any stereotypical things that like you see in society that makes like a man or like a woman. Um, I feel like anybody can be like an anchor for their family, and then it's just about like just being yourself and living for yourself.
Period. And across the board, that's what all men should do, trans, cis, wherever. Like, you know what I mean? Like, oh my god, just be
Yeah,
yourself. Just be yourself and stop fucking yapping all the time about other people. How about that?
yeah, for sure.
I love that answer. And I love you, Juju. You know, before we go, I would just like to share my appreciation for this man right here. You are at every stream that I do. Every time somebody's talking in the Discord, you are there. You watch all of my episodes. You even did that giveaway with me, which
Yeah,
I'd like to say in person again. Thank you for. I appreciate you. That was awesome.
of course. Yeah, it was fun.
Yeah. Um, Thank you. Thank you for helping me out all the time. I really appreciate you, man. And I'm proud of you for coming on here and telling your story because I know that it's not easy for everybody.
Yeah,
And you should be very proud of yourself because you're great and I love you.
thank you, thank you.
Of course. Now, before we go, what was your trans song of the week?
It's called "In Your Love" by Tyler Childers.
Okay, okay. Why'd you pick that one? How does it make you feel?
Like it resonates with me some way in some weird way. Like I had heard the song in the beginning of my transition, and then I've literally just put it on anytime like I felt like down on myself or anything like that, and I'll just listen to it.
Period.
As well as like the music video to it shows a lot more than what the song was, what people portrayed the song to be initially. So
I love that. Period. I think music is a play whether you like music or not, it has to play a little bit of a role in your transition. Because I don't know one
mhm.
motherfucker that hasn't sat down and listened to a song and be like, "Yeah, that's exactly how I feel." If
Yeah,
you're not relating to music, you're a fucking psychopath. Okay, you're a
yeah,
psychopath. That's all I have to say about that. thank you for sharing that. That will be in the description below for anybody that wants to check that out. And Juju, where can people follow you?
Instagram, TikTok is Juju the Trans Guy.
I think you have the best username I've ever seen. Like that handle is just mwah, I love it.
Yeah,
Perfect. Marketing king.
that's it too.
Now you're a little bit of an artiste, Juju. I have
I am.
noticed. Want to
Yeah.
talk about that for a second?
So I do spray paint art. I haven't done it in a long time. I started trying to like when TikTok became a thing, trying to like come become viral.
Mm.
And I feel like it's a good way to cope with like depression and anxiety. And so I have like a whole little studio set up in my garage with like a
Oh
bunch of
wow.
spray paint, canvases. Yeah,
Fuck yeah, good for you.
yeah.
And is any of your art on Instagram or TikTok? You just
It's
said
on
so, right?
both. Yeah,
Right?
TikTok and Instagram. Yeah,
Word. I love that. Definitely go check out Juju's work because I've seen it and you're really talented, man. You got talent. Good for you.
thank you.
Should be proud. Yeah, go follow Juju. His social media handles will be in the description below. You should definitely check him out because I love him. And follow me at HRT Podcast on TikTok and Instagram. I post almost every single day. Please join my Discord. We got a lot of trans people hanging out, having fun. Juju's in there all the time, talking his shit, and I love him for it. So go come hang out with us in in the Discord. Will be linked below as always, and subscribe to my Patreon. I would very much appreciate you. I put out new content every single week, bonus content from past episodes, past After Dark episodes. Sometimes I get on there and just say how I feel. So you're missing out if you are not subscribed. And I stream every Wednesday at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Juju's always there as well because, again, I love him and we're besties. So come hang out with me and Juju in my streams. I would greatly appreciate it. I drop After Dark episodes every Friday at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. If you haven't checked out After Dark yet, I don't know what you're doing because that is kind of at the moment my favorite content that I put out. It's more short form videos. I react to things. If you're on Spotify, come over to YouTube and check out my After Dark episodes. I would appreciate it. God, there's so much to say every week. I'm literally out of breath, bro. And that is it for this week, y'all. I appreciate you watching. Juju, thank you so much
Thank you.
for being a king. Oh, and I drop these pod episodes every Tuesdays at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Turn on my post notifications if you're feeling spicy. I would appreciate it. Okay, I love you all so much. This was a fantabulous episode, and I will see you all next week. I love you so much. Bye.